first and foremost, I guess, bit of good news. There's a good show that's appeared on Netflix called One Piece, and I don't know about you guys, but I've been quite enjoying it so far. Yeah, it's been really good fun. I don't know a huge amount about the manga and the anime that it spawned that then led to this adaptation, but it feels very much in keeping with the tone of anime. Very over the top characters, like larger than life, fun, gravity, physics defying action sequences. And intercut with like really good dramatic interpersonal moments, and it just feels like a really fun, vibrant show. It feels like everything that Cowboy Bebop tried to be and should have been, but failed to be. So I've been really enjoying it.
I think it's a great show. It's a great fun show, and it's amongst all the turgid content that we've had to dig through, it's just fun to see something built on the foundation of joy.
Yeah, that's honestly what it feels like. Yeah, they really seem like they had a lot of fun making this.
I was asked to see it by Az for the sake of real beauty, just the first episode, and I decided I would watch the whole thing after I saw the first episode because I was like, you know what? I want to give this a full shot and see what it has to offer, because the first episode convinced me of a couple things. Now, I assume you guys noticed this as well, but just the way I described the show to a lot of people, I said this would be like a really weird take for me to start with, but whatever. It's finally a normal show. And you might be like, what? Normal? It's like, so the paint job that this has, the absolutely insane world and insane physics and all these crazy kooky characters and stuff, sure, that's all there, but like underneath, this is the most normal storytelling that I've seen in a long time, and I've missed it. Just the structure was downright like you could find this in many books that'll tell you how to make a story. It's like, first scene, introduce a vague understanding of the world and a hook that there's pirates' treasure and we're all gonna go get it. Like, okay. Second scene, this like main character establishes wants and needs straight away. Second scene, like, how does the character bump into adversity event? Now we've got conflict straight away. I remember by the time you hit like the stuff with the lady Alvida, I think it is, and the other characters and stuff, I was like, holy shit, we're like 10 minutes in. I feel like I've watched a shit ton, and I was like, no, it's because I've been trained so hard right now by like Disney shows where nothing happens for the whole season. Yeah. It's like, oh, I forgot what it was to have something to chew on, to have characters that, have things to do and fucking investments in different shit. And watching a kid cut himself up because he's got inspired by his father figure, that scars show you like the strength of a man and stuff, and he's misunderstood it, and then having the dad, so to speak, say that it's not about having scars, it's about the lessons behind them, and you didn't earn that one. And I was just like, what an interesting thing to say. Yeah, I was just thinking about it for a while as the scenes were going on. I was just like, oh, I think the person who made this gave a shit.
Mm-hmm. It's all like with every character though, like they don't just establish them as like they're a one-note personality, like they're just an archetype and that's all they ever are throughout the show. Like you learn more and more about them, what drives them, what motivated them to go on this quest, what do they want, why do they want it, and it's done so well that you actually care, you're interested to learn more about them, and again, it feels like a rarity now to actually be invested in characters that you're interested to know more about. It's great.
Yeah, the other thing that they do, which is very much comic book oriented compared to a whole ton of fantasy stuff that we've seen, is that the show is not about them getting their power. They already have it. Now, that is fantastic because we get to see them use it immediately. But in traditional anime, they all start where the person is at level 1, but thinks they're great, and get defeated constantly. So none of them are Mary Sue's. All of them are overconfident, which is a traditional anime trope, but they get their ass kicked regularly as they go up and gain more capabilities. That's what's going to happen here. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, and the fact that there's no love interests and things like that. We're not. There's no people aren't being droopy about stuff. And to me, one of the, and I'm going to hit a spoiler here. One moment that brought a tear to my eye was, and you've seen this all, right? Critical. You've seen them all.
I've got like 2 episodes to go. I didn't quite.
But I think you've seen the one at the in the oh goddamn, where they have tombstones. What's that called? The
graveyard.
Graveyard. Thank you. When you hit 69, you forget. But when Nami,
I think that's episode 7, which means he probably hasn't seen it.
Okay, so I won't spoil it. I won't spoil it. So that's a phenomenal scene. Like, it really took me off guard, and it brought, the fact that they're willing to bring humanity to it, and the fact that characters are able to break out of the walls they've built for themselves. It's really, really well done that way.
No, this is something that's been reflected in chat here, that they fooled me really hard with Nami. I thought she was going to be another Rei Sue, super cocky, tough, independent girl boss. What a surprise when we got to see more. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Like, there's
that's
a lot
my
more
point. Yeah,
with her character, and this is I guess is one of the hallmarks of the fact that it's from Japan and it's based on their culture. Like, the girls don't automatically win everything, and they're not better at everything like you would expect from a Disney production or whatever. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that the original manga writer had the rights to this, and he retained creative control when Netflix picked it up. And so he was actually able to force them to rewrite a whole bunch of scenes that they wanted to do, because he was not satisfied with how it treated the characters. And I'm pretty sure the only reason it's as good as it is because he insisted that it be done his way. In which case, god damn, we need more people like that for sure. There's even a scene that, like, I think Mauler referenced this once before when we were chatting, when Zoro, like, the flashbacks to him when he's training, it's like he's fighting like a fellow student. She's like the best and he can't beat her, and she's like, I can beat you right now as a girl, but eventually you're going to be a man, and it doesn't matter how hard I train, you're going to be bigger and faster and stronger than I can ever be, and you're just going to be better, and you're going to beat me, and I can't stop that. And I thought, god damn, the feminists out there must be melting down when a line like that gets said. It's like that just destroys their entire worldview. But it's true, the show's like honest about that. But it doesn't undermine her character. It just means that they approach her in a different way, which again is just it's good character writing.
Yeah, Zoro is very much like the Spanish sword wielder in. Again, my brain has gone for names of movies. So the Princess Bride.
Yeah.
He's very much like that, where he's a swashbuckler. He's a swashbuckler, and he's got supreme confidence in himself. But then when he gets up against the world's greatest swordsman, he loses. But there's a bond between them where the guy says, hey, you know what? You're cool. I'm not going to kill you right now. And
that seemed like such a manga thing to do.
It totally.
Like, you've impressed me. I'm not going to kill you.
Totally.
Come back when you're stronger and we'll fight again.
So,
so cool.
But it didn't feel like. I mean, to me, it felt like I want to see the next fight now.
Yeah,
I didn't feel cheated.
In the space of like just a couple of minutes, you've established really strong stakes for his character. That his vow to this girl that he thinks he's lost is that he's going to become the greatest swords fighter in the world, and he has to defeat this guy in order to do it. And he gets his ass handed to him the first time he takes him on.
And that was refreshing.
Yeah.
Mihawk hands him his ass, and he was good in that. And the guy who played Buggy the clown.
Oh, he's great fun.
Wasn't he?
A lot of this show has things that I don't think would ever work if not for the actors really going for it and being, I think the key word for the part of the show's success, sincere. Everybody is taking this for what it is. Nobody's standing around going, how weird was that? Yeah. Oh, wow, look at that. Ain't that stupid? Oh, wow, that guy's got a big hat. That guy's got funny facial hair. Oh, look at that color of your hair. Just walking around being like, nudge, nudge, audience, I'm in on it with you. I think this is weird too. No writers are doing that for this. They're like, no, this is our world. Like it or leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got one of the main the guy who's head of the troops who wears this weird dog hat with flaps with teeth at the top. And you're going, okay, he's supposed to be a badass guy. What's he doing with that weird felt cap on?
Yeah. There's so much of that. Like, everything about it, like, on the face of it should make no sense and should make the whole thing just a complete laughing stock. you know, the set design, the world that they've created. It's like 18th century pirates, but also you've got like you know, international telephone calls and like electricity. You've got neon signs in bars and stuff. Like there's just like it's just this crazy mishmash of different eras and different technologies.
Yes, over slugs. International telephone calls over slugs.
Yeah, over slugs. It's like, how do they work? Don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like you say, the attitude is very much like, well, this is the crazy world we've created, but the characters are not in on the joke. They take it seriously because this is what they live in. So you either accept it or just watch something else, really.
Now, if they brought space whales into this, we would have accepted it. This is one of the things that bugged me with Ahsoka is that those space whales
were very
Ahsoka.
Don't
those were very manga.
Yeah.
And what? How? Anyways, yeah, we'll get to that. No, there's just such joy. The characters were well drawn. And I made the point in my video where I actually thought that this was an easier, except for the fact that it needed more, but it requires more budget than Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop, you know, this was a fantastical world that was basically pirates and guns and swords. Someone told me later on they're going to have lasers and stuff like that. But for the most part, it wasn't a future world that they were trying to duplicate. It was very real, the fantasy world that they created, whereas Cowboy Bebop is in the future, and they didn't have the budget to create the kind of future that was in the anime, which, you know, that's actually Cowboy Bebop was much more harder to translate to live action, I think, than One Piece.
I mean, I in some ways, yeah, like in other ways, like, well, when you're dealing with sea monsters and like giant like pirate ships and stuff, like there's a lot of visual effects that were needed for this in order to make it work. In Cowboy Bebop, you could have a lot of just people walking down derelict city streets and stuff. You could potentially do it that way. They obviously chose to do it a different way.
Yeah, and in the one scene in the first episode where they were in that dusty Mexican kind of Cuban town, in the anime, they still have beat up futuristic hovering cars. In the live action, they put fucking yellow Camaros in.
Yeah.
So they put muscle cars in. And I'm thinking, okay, no, they've lost it. They would have been better off with no cars at all.
Yeah.
It just took me out of the show. But I know Cowboy Bebop really well, the anime, but I don't know One Piece, the anime. So I could have been polluted that way.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say as well, I really want to give props to the actor who played Luffy. Because his ability to switch, because he's obviously like his standard persona is just this like smiling, happy-go-lucky, freewheeling adventurer. And it would be easy to think, well, that's all there is to him. He's just like, you know, he just takes life as it comes. But like he can have moments where he gets real serious, and the actor just absolutely just turns on a dime to give you that. He can give you real gravitas moments, and I think that was just it's brilliant to see.
Yeah, I was worried in his first scene that I was like, oh, I'm not going to get a character that like doesn't match the world at all, am I? Like he's going to walk around in it as though he's a god or something. What's the reason going on here? And as soon as I got the rubber power thing, I was like, oh, he has the power to be nice. It's not only something that he believes in, as we get from the past scenes, but that he can get away with like treating people well, because when they attack him, they'll often fail. And like, you know, this woman that tries to kill him straight away, he dodges what, like 7 of her attacks, and then says, "Okay, enough."
Punches her right into oblivion.
Like it's a sense of like, listen, this is fun, but like you're a horrible person. So we gotta stop you.
I love that scene. I think it's in episode 5 where, you know, they're in this sort of manor house with the girl who's getting poisoned and the butler and stuff.
Yes.
And I think Kobe and the other Marines show up, and he just like gets real serious at one point, and he's like, "Look, I know you have a job to do, but don't get in my way." And it's like the actor just absolutely nails that moment. It's like, okay, you know, he's got this persona, but at the same time, if you fuck with him or his friends, he will ruin your entire day. And I just thought, yeah, nice one.
And the other thing too that was really neat is, you know, we all know what's coming, and often it's not the ending that is a surprise, but the journey to the ending. We know how a court scene is going to end. We know how a sports movie is going to end. We all know that stuff because we're old and cynical and all that stuff. But what a joy it was to just sit there and go, how are they going to deal with a Buggy? How are they going to deal with the butler? How are they like? I was just waiting to see what inventive way they're going to get out of it, if they're going to get out of it at all. And it's nice to be surprised for a change. That Buggy conclusion where they threw all his parts into different boxes was just fantastic.
And he's just like a head with like two like hands sticking in there. I'm gonna get you.
It was a totally satisfying way to deal with Buggy. Logical.
Yeah, and they give they give everyone stuff in the episode. There's never anyone that's like left behind. At least it feels that way. Like when we've got the final confrontation with the butler, many characters are in that room, but it's like they give Zoro the two sort of subordinates. And they managed to create an action scene with them that's like got some really decent choreography and clarity. Something that I really miss from action scenes these days is just being able to see where everyone is. It's like, you know, everything is so closely cut and cut so harshly that a lot of the time you're just supposed to feel that action is happening. But I could feel it and see it. And obviously you had a brief history with these two, and they're like thieves. They want his swords anyway. There's enough there that's like character based, but then it's also just him showing off how good he is as a swordsman, which is helpful for his journey. I mean, it's hard for me not to say that I really like Zoro. He's just a cool factor, along with the way he's played by the actor. But some of the I found just a lot of fun is that he's like nobody's man. He's his own team. He does whatever he wants. Yep. But he's just drawn to Luffy. He's like, And we get in I think episode 2. When he's caged up and he can hear Luffy screaming, he's like, "We need to get out of here so we can help him." Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Why do you care about him so much?" And then he's like he's almost like conflicted with himself about why he does, because he doesn't care about anything. But he's just like, "Nah, this guy, he's just a good person. Like I'm fully convinced he's a good, wholesome person, and I want to fucking help him. I want to protect him."
I always like as well how like wherever they go, he just wants to find the nearest bar. He's always trying to get drunk.
I was really surprised how the intro to Sanji hit me. And I thought, what an interesting character. Of course, totally anime. The kung fu wielding triple A, Michelin star chef.
He just wants to be the best chef.
and he's always in his jacket and tie. That's totally anime.
But he's like, the actor's so fucking cool. Like the way he
conducts
himself, he's just
so easy to like.
Man, the guy just radiates confidence.
And I love the daddy, the sort of father figure again.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
And it's once again this person that's got this huge history, loads of experience, loads of wisdom to impart, and he runs a fair but harsh sort of restaurant. He's got a ridiculous hat, the ridiculous mustache, but I don't give a shit. Everything's taken for what it is. It's obviously adapted directly, I assume. And I can get drawn straight in. It's not distracting at all that everyone looks strange, or that, you know, because it's all just a part of the world. It's all being taken very seriously. You have that whole backstory, and then every interaction they have, all leading up to the end where Sanji leaves with the crew.
Yeah,
and it's quite emotional.
No, it was fantastic, and the turnaround where Sanji, when he was young and stuck on that butte in the middle of the water, found out that he got all the food. That was an amazing turn. Yeah. I didn't expect it.
Well, it's all just again, it goes back to what I was saying about like once you start to learn more about these characters, like you understand, like, well, okay, that's why they've got into the profession they're in. That's why they are on this quest.
Right.
They've all got different motivations for doing it, but they're all bound together by this common purpose, and they gradually learn to work together. And I don't know, man. It, like Muller said, it's so standard from a plot mechanics and storytelling point of view. It's wrapped up in this fantastical world with big, like, larger than life characters, but it's pretty standard storytelling. But it's just nice to see, and it's nice to see characters that they're not trying to constantly like deconstruct and subvert them. It's just like, yeah, you've got the happy-go-lucky hero, who is out for adventure. You've got the brooding swordsman. You've got the mysterious navigator who's got like different reasons for doing this. It's all just like interesting characters like thrown together into the mix. And they don't have to be horrible people to have this weird veneer of strength.
And in almost every single case, the characters create the problems that they themselves have to solve. They're not external. This is the choice they've made. They go into the thing. They've got to solve it. It's not suddenly something from outer space comes and they've got to defeat it.
Yeah. It's a quest.
Yeah.
You know, it's a quest that like they're choosing to do it. And
yes.
Yeah, it's again, it's just the spirit of adventure. Like
it's Star Trek.
The whole point of and it's interesting as well, right? Because they talk often about the pirates versus the Marines. It's like the forces of the world government, you know, the forces of order and tyranny, really, versus like the freewheeling pirates who are just you know, you could see them as being a force of evil, like who maraud and pillage and stuff. But then you find out, like, well, each side actually has nuances and layers to them because there's pirates. Like
right.
Luffy says that they're not really out to destroy people or steal things or whatever. They just want adventure, but they just don't want to be ruled over by this world government. And you've also got the Marines, who actually, there's people in amongst that who just believe in protecting the innocent and upholding law and order and just ensuring fair treatment for everyone. So like there's so many layers to both of these organizations where, as in real life, not everyone who takes part in a cause is good, is all good or all bad. There's a mixture of people. And again, I think that's a really like sophisticated bit of storytelling for a relatively like simple premise, I guess.
And because Kobe decided not to go with Luffy and go with his dream of being a Marine, suddenly the Marines are no longer NPCs.
Yes.
To be mowed down. They're not stormtroopers to be shot to death.
Well, he's our window into them.
Correct. That's what I'm completely shocked on how this thing was all constructed. Now, that being said, he's done 1,000 mangas. he's kind of figured it out. We're not going to be stuck with the George R.R. Martin trap where he hasn't finished writing the book. This thing has been there's so much material in the original and he's already figured it out over time. I think we're seeing that. Now, that being said, 2 shows, Wheel of Time and The Witcher, they had a rich source of material to work from, and they choose to ignore it.
Well, that's what happens when the person who wrote the source material doesn't have creative control, and it just gets given over to a bunch of hacks who are out to go into business for themselves and tell their own stories.